collaboration as strategic choices. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessie, and lovely to see so many of you here. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we see the openness and collaboration from the National Land Survey of Finland perspective. So just a few words about our organization. We are the National Land Survey, so we take care of the registers, APIs, and the real properties, also apartment ownership within Finland. We also take care of the cadastre surveys. We have a large research department, and we take care of the positioning systems in Finland, GNSS systems basically. But most importantly, we have the core geospatial data production responsibility in Finland. So we provide maps, we provide APIs, we provide data with a staff of about 170 people for that purpose. So our geospatial data production services within the National Land Survey are focused around the topographic database. So all the spatial data products and services are distributed from that topographic database, and these are based on open source stack now. We have taken into use the new production system that Rista was actually, my colleague, was presenting on Wednesday here. So that's based on this open source stack containing QGIS server in the future anyway, QField for the field activities, PostGIS in the background, and then server products for distributing our APIs and products, and also our own developed Hakun API, OGC API server, which is providing our OGC API services. And we do have also an Oscari open source mapping platform, which we use in our web mapping services. And that's also an open source product that is available to all of you if you like to try and test it. So a couple of modules or activities are still running on our legacy systems, but they will also be converted to this open source stack in the coming years. So that's for the background. We have been open in many ways for quite a time already. So we started with open data in 2012. So majority of our data is open and the usage is growing. So we believe that openness regarding data is a good choice there. And also we are a big contributor and user of open standards. We have been participating in development of some of the OGC standards, such as the OGC API features and OGC joins. And then we are, of course, a big user of open source since the beginning of 2000. Somewhere in over 20 years, we have used a lot of open source tools. And now we are also moving more into collaborating around open source and contributing even more to the communities. So why are we going open source first? There are many things. First and foremost, we want to build an enterprise architecture of our systems, which we are in charge of ourselves. So we need to build our production processes in such a way that they respond to the needs that we have, not the other way around, so that the software would define how we work. Because we know that many of the closed software, they impose a certain way how you have to work, and it's difficult to modify these products to your own needs. But we want to be in the driver's seat of the architecture that we build and also the processes that we build for our work. It's very important for us. Then we also need to work openly with other public sector organizations to create more value to the society in an efficient way. So we want to leverage from this innovative community and expertise of the global open source communities to our own benefit. But this is a two-way street, of course. So as we benefit from the community, we also need to support the communities and build our solutions in such a way that they can benefit the communities as well. Because if we do that, then it builds us even further resilience towards the constant changes in our operations and the world around us. Then thirdly, there is the research aspect. So the Finnish Geospatial Research Institute is part of National Land Survey, and they do a lot of innovative research regarding geo-AI, positioning, navigation, and all this kind of stuff. And we can leverage the research results directly in our production systems when they are based on open source, because all the research is basically done in open source environments. Then, fourthly, the use of open source enables us to build a modular architecture, which makes our components interchangeable, provided that we use well-defined APIs to create this interoperability. So open source is very much relying on standards, which makes the lifecycle management for our environment much more easy. And we can always use the broad range of vendors to support our existing and develop our existing systems and be different parts of systems with different vendors as we please. And last but certainly not least, the use of open source is an excellent way of managing risks related, for instance, to vendor lock-in, and also it does provide better resilience towards any operational changes. We can always make them as we please, as well as these kind of sudden changes that you experience from closed source providers in licensing models and pricing. Because, for instance, this year we have received notifications from some of our closed source software providers that they are raising their prices with over 50%. 50%, and that is something that our budgeting is not very flexible to that end, that we can just throw money to these licenses. And imagine if we had built our, let's say, this topographic database updating system based on closed products, and we would need 100 or 150 licenses, and then they go up by 50%. This is not acceptable in our terms. Well. That's only one thing, of course, and then instead of paying these license fees, we would like to invest in the productivity development of our existing processes and the tools, and that we can do because we don't have to pay for the licenses. And also the European Union has set the goal to be more digitally sovereign, the digital sovereignty principle within the European Union. So that is to reduce the dependency on the tech giants and such like. So I think that the best way to be more digitally sovereign is to use and contribute to open source software and the communities. We have open source guidelines to realize our strategic approach, so that we always should maximize the benefit to the society by releasing whatever we develop in open source. And open source solutions would also be used when we develop our core IT systems. And that core IT systems means that when we use them in mission critical production, like the topographic data production or cadastre activities, for instance. Not maybe like office software which comes from the government ICT. We cannot impact that, but we can impact our enterprise applications. So the collaboration and the communities, we need to be involved in many kinds of communities and have the capability to act in many types of communities. Of course, we have the internal user and developer community who use our solutions, the mappers, the cartographers, our own developers, architects. We manage that community and raise the capabilities of our own employees. But then we have also the open source developer communities, which is where I'm at right now with you guys. We have to also manage this relationship with the communities and develop that further. And then we have the collaboration with other public sector organizations which kind of forms another community to manage for us. I'm going to get into that a little bit more later. So regarding how does this look capability-wise from our perspective versus the collaborative aspect. So we have the own competence for like the subject matter. You know, we know our data, we know our processes, we know the missions, the objects or the goals we have to accomplish, and we also developed our processes ourselves. We can do that because we have open source solution. We have a freedom to do that. And they design our architecture in such a way that it fits best our processes. And of course, it's good always to have some developers of your own to make some changes. But of course, we work very closely with our private sector partners who we buy some resources from and buy some development activities via competitive tenders. But now we are also opening up to like collaboration with other organizations in Finland, and why not abroad? That's not like a problem in a way. Who would need to build similar functionalities, for instance, to QGIS. And we like to work with these OS communities also for mutual benefit. And why specifically to collaborate with the QGIS community? because that's maybe the major thing for us. Because the main reason is that the geospatial data production is for us a really mission critical duty. It's the core business of National Land Survey. It's written in the law that this is the task we have to take care of. So to ensure really the sustainability and security of the production system and our activities, we have to be involved in the community to support how QGIS gets built and to ensure that it has all the security fixes and all that in place. And the other thing is that when we do want to develop the software further, the best way for us is to accommodate the changes into the main versions, not to create our own branch, because that is very costly. Of course, we negotiate with the community whether this is feasible. We don't, of course, want to make changes that would not negatively impact other community members, but we have to negotiate about that. But whenever it's a good fit, then it really benefits all the parties. Everybody gets to benefit from the changes that we make. And we also have used some of these co-funding and crowdfunding mechanisms that have been made, campaigns that have been made available, and we have participated in some of them. And that, of course, saves money when there's a common interest. And last but not least, it's really motivating and fun to be a part of this community. I love these conferences. I love speaking to you guys and like doing this collaborative work. It's really good fun, actually. So the public sector collaboration is another aspect that I want to speak to you about. So we've had a lot of informal discussions with our fellow public sector agencies over the years regarding QGIS and other open source software. But now we have actually established a national public sector collaboration network, which is a very nice thing. We have now 6 partners in the network, including ourselves, the Forest Center, the Environment Institute, the Natural Resources Institute, the Traffic Agency, and then this cost thing I will talk about a little bit later on. And we plan within this collaboration to identify and coordinate, for instance, QGIS development ideas. If we find some common ideas, then we could arrange a common contribution towards the international QGIS community, and also participate in maybe some crowdfunded campaigns. So the actual contribution that we are now are making has been now organized through this Center for Open Systems and Solutions, who organized the National Public Sector Collaboration Network activities for these members that I mentioned, and each one of us pay a membership fee, so that not everyone of us has to join separately the QGIS community, but we have one member who then organizes these activities for the Finnish public sector. And this course has now, with the support from this network, joined the QGIS community as a sustaining member in the flagship level, which I'm really proud of. I'm really happy about that. So we are now actually contributing to the community in a very good way. They can maybe hopefully do some of the security updates, improvements to really ensure the sustainability of QGIS, which is so important for our core mission and activity. So very happy about that. But it didn't come without challenges, I can say, for sure. It was not an easy process to get the collaboration started with the open source community, and that's not because of the community, but it's because of our internal things like management and legal. If you are talking to lawyers, you might know what I'm talking about, because they don't really see the importance of or benefits of the collaboration or contributing to the community. They see risks. And these risks are something that you have to tackle if you want to start the collaboration. These funding models are usually not the kind that you are used to in a public sector organization. You are used to purchasing stuff via competitive tenders. And when you contribute to this community, like in a sustaining membership, you don't really know what you actually get for that money. That's the problem in a public sector setting. You have to know what you get for the money. But you can go around it. So even if these established procurement practices and interpretations of the law can be a little bit difficult to change in people's minds, it's still possible to manage that. But of course, then you have to, if you want to do collaboration, you have to plan and allocate work, resources, and budget for that in your yearly management when you are a public sector organization. And the challenges, I think, they can be overcome. So one of the solutions I want to offer to you is to learn to speak management language. That is something we are the tech guys. We don't often know how to speak to the managers. They seem to be from a totally different world and not even going into the lawyers. So you have to justify this community involvement. Why you actually do it? Basically you have to base it on your organization strategy. How does this help to push forward your strategy in your organization? Get real business cases. What is the impact on real business cases of use of open source and contributing to the community? And the sustainability thing is a really key factor in our case. We have used that to justify our involvement. So basically the management want to get their problems solved. They have their daily problems with financing and whatever they have. For instance, this pricing model thing is another example, a good selling point to the manager, saying that you can stop worrying about pricing models when you have open source tooling. In at least to that extent, when I know that of course when we buy open source as a service, there might be some pricing models, but I think somehow that the community and the companies within this community are a little bit more friendly in discussing about the pricing models than some of the other actors. And of course you have to be a little bit prepared to answer any tricky legal questions that your lawyers might ask you about public procurements, but it's possible, no worries there. So you have to be awake and promote the open source activities and be quite persistent, honestly. I spent years on this effort, but it's there now. So to way forward, how in the future we hope that even more organizations could join the public sector collaboration within Finland. So actually some of the major cities and municipalities in Finland, they use QGIS for land use planning and they are extending the use of QGIS. As I like many times, like once a month at least, I somehow get a message from somewhere that, we have taken up QGIS, we are expanding use of QGIS within the public sector, because it's simply it's good for so many things already, and you can develop it further as you please. So we'd like to grow this collaboration and foster these common development ideas, try to find the common ground for development, even if the use cases and usage levels may be different. And of course, we have to do our homework. We have to practice as you preach, because sharing the code that we develop, it requires architecture planning in such a way that you don't put like internal things in the code so that you cannot share it. So all the to be developed solutions, we try to plan in such a way that they can be used for the whole community whenever that's possible, and even try and at some point invest some money into refactoring some of the existing solutions that we've done that have not been possible to share so far. So, but I'm coming to the end of my talk. Some couple of little takeaways for you. I believe that based on what I've said today, it's quite evident that the use and collaboration around open source are really strategic choices for public sector organizations that should be made and that should be promoted. And also, the sustainability of critical core business solutions and digital sovereignty, all these drivers being in the driver's seat of your architecture, is best ensured by supporting the open source communities and the collaboration as well. And also I believe that the public sector organizations can play a major role in driving these goals and helping these open source communities to flourish. Of course, we need the private sector, the big players who really have the bucks, but we can do our share for sure. So please, my message to you is to find and support the global communities, the software you are using, go and participate in them, but also be active in your local chapters and even establish your own local communities if there isn't one already. Thank you so much.
That was really cool. And we've already got questions. Excellent.
I should have known that the first question comes from Marco.
Well, you're not going to get a question from me. You're going to get a thank you.
Okay.
It's really, really cool what you did, and extremely important to the ecosystem of QGIS, because having a big agency that has gone all these steps will just pave the way for more. So thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, also thank you for that. So my question is, you're talking about changing our language to sort of an attitude and strategy for like management speak. And are there any resources that you're aware of that work, or any collaborative efforts to be able to bridge that gap for that understanding?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe you will have some colleagues that could help. Even some of the members of this community who have had to go that way, and maybe I don't know. We've learned it the hard way, let's say, because I've been to the boardroom multiple times trying to explain this, and I always get this slap on the face. Go out until I and Risto there managed to find a way to convince them. We tried different things.
Yeah, and I think maybe it could be an opportunity for us to, put together some resources from an open source point of view.
I mean, like a wiki page saying that this is the way you convince your management on open source.
Persistence pays.
Hello. Fantastic presentation. Great work. It's more a comment to your question. There's a presentation at 4 p.m. from Anna on how to scale open source geospatial in large organizations. It's sort of templating security responses and how to convince procurement that open source is a real thing. So you might find that interesting.
Yeah, on the same topic, FOSS4G 2007, the keynote speech was by the core developer, and that was titled "A Geek Eye for the Suit Guy," something like that. So go look it up. It was fantastic, and exactly on that, how to do that.
Good tip. Which only proves that this topic is there. It's never been. It's never disappearing. Yeah.
Kiitos paljon, Jenny. It was really good and inspiring. I think you did cover some of those reasons of why agencies don't adopt it. And in New Zealand, we're lucky that our equivalent is using open source software. But at the level down, it's, with maybe one exception, very much locked into other vendors. What can we do from the outside looking in to push the needle? Because I'm in the private sector, but what is it that we can do to help them understand and sell the vision? Like, what was it, if you were hearing it, that you could use?
Well, we have had a lot of support from our private sector partners, those who advocate open source, those who provide open source solutions. So to kind of at least to convince that they are serious players. There's a market where we can purchase from. It's not just the big players where we can securely purchase things. So it's also about like a business perspective, I would say. So not only technology perspective, but business perspective, that we have reliable partners that we can rely on. Because that's many times important for the public sector procurement people, that, okay, I will have this company with me for the next 5 or 10 years, not like one-man company or something like that only. You will need more stability for this kind of robust mission-critical solutions. That's at least one thing.
Thank you for the talk, Yanni. We've been talking to you for a few years now, so I'm from LINZ as well, and to the comments that people are making, It is that we need to deliver something that then people connect to, and being on the side of LINS is, yes, we are the only large government agency that has a policy for everybody to do it, and we are fighting that every single day, and it's hard, but it's not hard because we deliver so much good stuff. From a LINS point of view, we have far more engagement with private sector than we do with other government agencies, so Predator-Free NZ and all these other places that are doing really, really good work, we're engaged with. We get told by our government change that you've got to make money, and we immediately say you cannot start charging for topographic data. And we thought we'd won that fight, and it just keeps coming up. So it's momentum, and we're heading in the right direction, and we believe in ourselves, and there are enough people and enough individuals in these other organisations to build a mass that at some stage this will be the way, and this will be the norm, not the... I'm speaking for New Zealand here because we are so far the other way. But I certainly believe in it, and I thank you for doing this and sharing this and being honest about what didn't work and what was hard. So the refactoring part, we know that is something as well. But yeah, so I think the community thing and building up is a really important thing. So that's why I'm so loving the conference.
And one thing is that it would be always very helpful to have one advocate in the boardroom as well. Somebody who can then actually, for the other question earlier, that you need to maybe convince at least one person who can then translate you into the boardroom.
And also maybe to you, there is a political way also to go. In Switzerland, we managed over a long time to have a law that says that everything that the government pays has to be done in open source. So the federal government, so not all the government, but still it's a law that now kind of is trickling down, and we are noticing. So that's also a good example, like to say, yeah, but the Swiss, they have a law, among other countries, of course.
I think this probably is the last question regarding time-wise, but you can always come to talk to me. I'll be here until the very end of the afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was a really great talk.
Thank you.
I was just curious how much resistance you faced from the private sector when you announced that the public sector was going open source.
This regards, of course, the National Land Survey only, but actually, majority of the companies, I can say 95% of the companies were like, yeah, cool, that's cool, because it enables us to compete in the same level. There were a couple of private sector GIS providers who were not that enthusiastic about it. You can best guess one name at least. There's a couple of other ones. But anyway, so they kind of realized this is the business environment has changed in such a way that open source is a de facto thing in many places, and those businesses who realize that will thrive in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Jani. That was epic.